Hey, what's up? Wix here again. Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we are carrying on with part 2 of our LS headers and exhaust upgrade on our Holden R8 Clubsport. Let's go. Okay, so part 2 of our upgrade is mainly dedicated around the headers. If you watched part 1, I'll put a link in the description for part 1 if you missed it. Part 1 was doing the exhaust. We found out, I got told it would match up to the factory headers, but they didn't. Hence why we had to put it into 2 parts. So part 2 being mainly around the headers. I've just got home from work. And our headers have arrived. So what I'm going to do, I've never seen these headers before. I'm just going to open them up and see what they look like. So these are the Pacemaker headers. I'll also put a link in the description for the actual model number that I've ordered, and this is for our 2004 Holden R8 Clubsport 6-speed Clubsport. I'll open this up and then we'll take a look at what they look like, because yeah, I've never seen any before up close and personal. So let's have a look. Okay, so I'm guessing this is the number here, PH5363. But yeah, this is what they look like. So it's got that distinctive blue heat paint color and a nice beautiful Pacemaker tag on there with that part there as well. So we've got the VY, so hopefully these should just bolt straight up. What I might do also is I might get my verniers out, take a measurement of the diameter of the holes there. I can't remember, I think they're 1/7/8, but I'll just check that. And then they collect into a 3-inch collector down here. So we can tell that the collector on these is a lot further down. This is where they collect here. I think the factory one was up here, and I've even seen ones that collect up here. So they do promote that they're long runners and the collectors a lot further out. Usually when you are upgrading to these headers, you've got to get extensions for your O2 sensors. Usually they're up there. But when you upgrade to these, there's a little extension you can buy. I'm pretty sure mine are already extended. I won't know till I get these up under the car if they'll fit. I'm pretty sure they will though, but we all know how that works out. So how it'll work is, this is the driver's side, which I've been told is the difficult side to put in the car, because you've got the steering column to fend with, and I can't remember, but there's something else that gets in the way. On the passenger side, it's a lot more empty, so I've been told it should take a couple of hours to install. The passenger side being about 10 to 15 minutes. The rest of the time is removing shit, putting the headers in, and putting the stuff back on. So I've been told that side will take a little bit of time. So how it'll work is, we've got the headers here. I've got the exhaust sitting over there, but I need to make a part in between the exhaust and the bottom of the headers, which is that package there. So I'll open up that and then I'll explain how that part's going to work. So both the headers, that little joiner pipe that I'm about to open, and the exhaust I picked up from the boys at Xforce Performance up in Auckland. So once again, shout out to the team, Adam and the team up there. thank you very much. But yeah, for now, let's have a look at that package over there. Okay, so what I had to order extra on top of everything else was a couple of pre-made bent pipes, and that's to go in between the end of this and the exhaust over there. So the boys up at XC, they sell these pipes separately. When you buy the headers, it comes with an extra flange which is under there. I wonder if I can cut that open soon and have a look. I had to buy a couple of extra flanges off them that will bolt on to the exhaust over there, some gaskets. So it does need a bit of fabrication. This is the part where usually you'd either have some cats if you're buying the proper Xforce headers. They come with the headers, and you can buy the cats pipes all pre-made. The boys don't sell the cats. They usually fabricate their own pipe, kind of like what was on the old setup in part 1, but hopefully this is all the same size as the headers and the exhaust. So that's the only fabrication part that I need. Obviously I can't do that until I've got those in the car, I've got the exhaust in the car, and then I fit everything up, tack it, weld it, you know, the usual process. So there's a little bit to putting this in the car, but we'll just go through it step by step. I think step 1 definitely though is probably, I might start with the driver's side since it's the hardest side. Getting those headers bolted up in the car onto the engine, and making sure that the O2 sensors will screw in, they'll fit. If not, I'll have to buy a couple of extensions. I sort of took a gamble this time, hoping that will be all good. Once we've got those on, then it's a matter of putting the exhaust on, letting it hang there, which will leave this joiner piece for last, I guess. Bolt it up, and then Bob's your uncle, should be all done.
What we do here is go back.
Okay, cool. So those diameters are a lot bigger than what I measured in the factory of my factory headers. Definitely a lot bigger. And at the other end of the headers, I know our other measurement was 2.2 inch, just over 2 inches. And now we've got 3 inches, which is exactly what we need for our exhaust anyway. So as you can probably tell, it's going to be a lot more free flowing for the engine. Can breathe a whole lot easier. Pretty excited to see what the sound will be like. A lot of people other people around, mates, family that have other Holdens or LS engines, they swear by these headers, the Pacemaker headers. So yeah, happy I got some really good headers. Yeah, and excited to put them on. We're going to attempt to put the passenger side in. So I was trying to do it last night. I ended up rubbing a bit of paint off the headers because it was scraping up stuff, and then I figured out a good way on how to do it. I thought might as well just show you what I figured out. So if your engine bay looks like this, we're doing the passenger side or the right side. If you're looking at the front of the car, if it looks like this, I'm going to give you a quick tip on how to get this side in real easy. We've got the container here for the radiator. It's just held on from 2 rubber mounts, so you can get that off, push it to the side. So those are the type of mounts there, one there and one over here. And I'm not sure what this is, but it's just held on by two 10mm bolts. And then I can lift that up and move that out the way. Put that up there. Right, put that up there. You might have to disconnect this plug, which is just the plug to the pump on this for the window wipers. And then as you can see, heaps of room, plenty of room. So I've taken off all the spark stuff, ignition coils. I've also pulled the spark plugs out as well because I don't want to hit them. So that head is pretty bare. So now I've got plenty of room to get the headers down, and if I had done this in the first place I wouldn't have marked them. Plenty of room to get them down now, bolt them all up. That should hang there, and then I can start putting everything back together for that side pretty much. Yeah, so I'll do that. We'll come and have a look at after I've kind of got some bolts in, just with the headers sitting there. Okay, so that's pretty much everything on the passenger side. All done. Gets one of these. So another little trick is whatever this thing is, that and the water stuff, just leave hanging off until you've completed everything on the engine. So I bolted up the headers, I put the spark plugs back in, I put the coil pack back on, bolted that on, and then I put my ignition leads back on. Now I have upgraded to some Bosch leads, and I'll show you why I did that in a second. But these, yeah, I'll show you what the leads look like, and I'll show you what the part number is as well, if you're keen to know what these ones are. But pretty much that's the passenger side. So just one more tip is, yeah, don't stick this gear back on until you've finished all the engine side, and that'll give you plenty of room. There's also a little factory heat shield that I put back on, which just slides into a couple of slots on the side of this. But yeah, that side was pretty simple, real easy to get to all the bolts. So if you're thinking about upgrading to some headers, that's how easy it is to do on the passenger side. Driver side, I'm not so sure about. So already straight in front of me is the steering column. I know that's going to get in the way, and one of the boys did tell me I will need to pull it off or do something with it. So yeah, not looking forward to that one. I'll probably have to pull the dipstick off again, and yeah, I'm not sure. But I've still yet to pull the spark plugs out because I don't want to damage those, so I'll get those out, get all these bolts out as well, because no doubt they'll get in the way. Yeah, I might have to have a look at that. Before I go into that, I'll just explain these leads. They're down here on the ground. Alright, so the Bosch ignition leads, here is the part number. What do they harp on about? Kevlar reinforced, blah blah blah. Let's just have a look at one. First of all, I like how it's got a metal coating around the spark plug, especially around the headers. I'm not sure what this spring does, but the rest of it is, I think, I want to say silicon. And it's just a nice ignition lead. And the reason why I had to buy some new ones anyway is, and I think by watching a few videos, this is a common occurrence. So when I went to go pull one off, it snapped. Ended up like that. And then another one I noticed, even before I pulled it off, was this one here. Had a big crack in it. So I'm not sure how long we've been driving around with a big crack in it, but I can't say that's helpful. Very white on the inside as well. So yeah. So that was the reason why I needed to buy a couple new ones. and I thought I might as well just, I was watching another LS upgrade video on YouTube, and I noticed he used those leads, so I bought those. They're only a couple of $100, but you can see the difference between this one, that one there, and say a factory one. So yeah, this is still, what would you call this, hardened rubber or whatever it is, and then this one's got this plastic shield around it, so I really like that. And it's not rubber, so we all know that looking at that one, rubber over time just gets brittle and it snaps, basically what happened to that one. So that's why I upgraded to those. It was only a couple of $100, so definitely worth it. Haven't done any servicing to the Holden since we got it, so I thought while I'm doing the headers I might as well sort that part out as well. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spend 5 or 10 minutes trying to have a practice with the last side of the headers, and when I figure something out I'll let you guys know. Okay, so 3 days have gone by. So what was meant to take me a few hours ended up taking me 3 whole days. I'll explain later why. But everything's ready to turn the key, so I thought I'd get that on camera for the first startup with the headers only. Haven't got the exhaust on, just got the headers on. Yeah, so I just want to see if this starts. Let's take a look at it anyway. So this is the driver's side all done. Again, swapping out the factory ignition leads with the Bosch ones. Real easy to get these on. To actually get it on the spark plug, it's a little bit tricky, and I'm not actually sure. It's hard to know when it actually clicks onto the spark plug. If anyone's got any tips about whether they're on or not, please let me know. I've pushed them as hard as I can, but I was expecting a type of click, but it didn't actually click. It just pushes on, so we'll go with it. We'll see how we go with that. In the process also, I noticed yesterday that I broke a sensor, this one here, which is this sensor here. Now I'm new to these engines. If anyone can help me out, what is that sensor there? I'm hoping it's a water temp sensor, which should mean I can still drive the car, it just won't tell me the temperature of the water. So we'll see. But anyway, yeah, that's what it looks like. This side was a hella mish, but I'll talk about that after. That side is as simple as, this side was a nightmare. But first start, let's see if it goes well. Just starting it, babe. Okay, so that was louder than what I thought it would be. That sounds good. There's a bit of smoke. I'm hoping it's all the grease that I put all over the headers just burning off. So hopefully a few heat cycles, all that will go away. But I'm stoked that that part's all over. Now to tell you about the drama I had, the nightmare I had on the driver's side, and to tell you the simple way, well, there's no simple way, but I'll tell you the process of what you kind of need to do to get the driver's side in when you're putting in these headers. So let's take a look. So at the back there, you've got the steering column that goes onto the steering rack. That needs to come off. Not only that, you've got the rack at the bottom that points up. For these, but I'm not sure about every single headers, but for these particular Pacemaker headers, that steering rack is in the way. So what you can do is you can unbolt it, which is just 2 bolts underneath. I think they're 2 19mm bolts. It's got a nut on top, which is an 18mm nut. Well, these ones were 18mm nut on top, 19 on the bottom. Take those 2 bolts out, and you can pull the whole rack out and just let it hang down, and that gives it plenty of room for the headers to go down. The only trouble with that is that coming from this direction, you've got the power steering lines that runs into the steering rack, so those need to come out. So you are going to need to empty your power steering in some way, because you're going to lose all your steering when you pull the lines off. So you need to pull the lines off, then you can take the rack out, drop it down. That'll give plenty of room down there, but there's still not enough room up here. You don't need to touch any of this stuff, which I kind of did, but that was a waste of time. Don't need to touch that. What you can do is, there's a nut just down there, and it's the nut to the engine mount. Take that nut off. That's a 19mm nut. Take that off, and then you can get a jack under the engine with I use that block of wood you can see just lying there. Put it between the jack and the bottom of the engine somewhere, and I just jacked it up. And what that does to the engine is it just pulls this side away, like sort of on an angle, and that gives it plenty of clearance up the top end to slip this side of the headers in. Doesn't need much, but if you don't jack it up, you won't fit it in. That's even if you take the ignition coils off, it's still not enough room. So that's basically it. Sounds easy. Take the steering rack off, it's 2 bolts plus the 2 lines, drop it down, take the engine mount nut off, jack the engine up, it'll pull it away, then you can slip your headers down, and that's when the fun really starts, because when you've got no headers in there to pull the lines off, it takes a couple of minutes. With the headers in place, and if anyone's got any tips on how to do it, but the only way I could do it was I had to access it from underneath, and it's one of those processes where you can slip your spanner on, turn it a little bit, and then you had to turn your spanner around to get the other side, turn that a little bit, twist, turn, twist, turn. I don't know if you've done that before, but I've done that plenty of times. Now there probably is, while I was doing that, I didn't have the headers bolted up, I had them to the side. I think you can get those ratchet spanners that have got a gap in them, 4 steel lines. Something like that would definitely help. I just don't have one. Once that's done, you can get the rack back up, bolt it back in place, and that's all your power steering done. Now the reason why it took me 2 days is this car's done about 240-ish, 50-ish Ks, and shit just starts breaking. So what happened when I pulled the main line off, I had a seal that was faulty. The other thing I learned is that it's actually a conical seal. Never heard of a conical seal before. So I'll put a picture up about what that looks like. I didn't have any one of those. It's still the weekend, so I ended up putting the O-ring in it, and it seems to have sealed it pretty good. So I'll just keep an eye on it. I'll see how I go. If I need to pull it back off, I'll need to pull it back off. But that's why, basically. And then there also, I couldn't get the thread of the steel line back into the power steering pump, so I had to take the rack down to the shop. We had to re-thread it, and yeah, That's why it was a nightmare. But it took me nearly a day to figure out that my threads were stuffed. But in the end, we got there. I'm very happy it's all over. Would I be in a hurry to put the driver side in again? Not really. Passenger side? Yeah, all day, every day. That's all good. But yeah, so that's the process. So I'll just go over that again. Passenger side, remove the water container and whatever this box is. That will take you 2 minutes. Then you've got plenty of room to do everything you need to do on that side. Driver side, you need to disconnect the power steering lines, drop the steering rack at the back, take off the engine mount nut, jack the engine up, and you'll be able to get your headers in and put it back together. So still not over yet. That's just the headers done. Happy about that. Also, I didn't need to buy the O2 extenders, O2 sensor extenders. Mine were long enough, so they're all screwed in. Hence why the car started and had no issues. Now the second half to this episode is I've got to get the car to Toby's. We're going to get it on the hoist, and we're going to chuck the exhaust on and start welding those the joiner pipes. I call them joiner pipes that go in between the headers and the exhaust. No cats, we don't like cats here, so straight pipe. So I need to drop the car down. I'll see how much time I've got today. I've got other stuff I need to do, but I'll see if I can get the car to Toby's at least, get it on the hoist. At least that way I know everything's there and we can just carry on when I get a chance. So now let's get this car finally back down on the ground. Right, finally on my way to Toby's to chuck it on the hoist and get this exhaust on and try and weld up those joiner pipes. I'm stuck in traffic, and she's pretty loud. I've got a check engine light showing. I think I broke the sensor to the water temp gauge, so I'm not sure if she's going to come off the warm-up revs. Luckily Toby only lives over there, but with this traffic I don't know how long I'm going to be sitting there, so hopefully nothing weird happens and the car shuts down. We'll see how we go, but on our way to Toby's. Yo! Well, made it to Toby's. She was a loud trip. Fans were going crazy because of that water temp sensor, and those drips are not mine, but that puddle over there is mine. Still got a power steering leak somewhere, so we'll have a look when this gets up to height. Alright, so far we've got the back section hanging, one hanger, bolted it. I've put my 2 new hangers in there that I figured out I don't need, because this exhaust only uses one, so I could have used that one, but anyway, 2 new hangers. These pipes here were dropping down a bit, so we've got a bit of ingenuity going on to hold that up. It was a bit twisted, so we've got a spacer in here to try and keep it straight this way. We've got both flanges on, this side and that side, and now we're just at the trying to suss out where to cut these. Those are our joiner pipes, and we're just trying to suss out where to cut them. This is the part I'm terrible at, but like Toby said, it's only metal, mate, so we'll see. The other thing is, my leak down there is not from the issue that I had those past few days. It's coming from up the front. I think my belt's a bit wet, so I'm guessing way up the top on my power steering there's a leak up there. So, oh joy, we'll have to fix that when we get to it. Still got the Xforce tip still weld on the end of that as well. Must have got a bit too close. The last one melted my bumper away. Not too worried about that at the moment. But otherwise, fitting wise, it fits quite well, this section. Obviously the headers, they're hanging there nicely. So yeah, we'll see how this middle section goes. Okay, so we've got one pipe pretty much cut to length. Good angle on that one, and pretty good on that as well. So just sorting out the other side, and then we'll see how it sits around here between the exhaust and this part. But so far, it's one pipe done. Okay, so we've got both pipes up now. No gaps anywhere. They seem pretty straight. Happy with all the gaps above it. So we're going to tack it up now, and hopefully that'll be the end of that. Okay, so we've tacked it up. Toby's just doing the full weld now, doing most of it on the car, and then we'll pull them off and make sure we go around everything. But we're pretty happy with where it sits at the moment. I think I need to sort out the back bumper. It's a little bit loose, so it's probably hitting the exhaust, probably why that hole was there. So that'll be a job to do, but hopefully, fingers crossed, as soon as we finish welding that, I think we should be all done and dusted. So yeah, we'll let him carry on with that and see what happens when he's finished. Right, and we're done. 2 joiner pipes all welded up. Did a bit of grinding around the bolts to make it easier to get the bolts in, but pretty happy with that. Those lines, that one's a little bit off, but she's all tight anyway. So there's only one thing left to do: get this thing down on the ground and see what she sounds like. But let's do a front to backwards. Beauty, 3-inch all the way. Very happy. Still got to get those stainless tips on, but yeah, let's get her down on the ground and see what it sounds like. Exciting. Alright, so we got the car home. Purposely didn't show you the sound because I wanted to go straight into the sound comparisons that I did in part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll put a link in the description. But I got the car home. Check engine light is still on,
And the reason why is because I broke my sensor, so I've got a brand new water temp sensor. I'm going to stick that in. First of all, I've got to get the snap plug, which is still stuck in there. Get that out. Twist that in, put the plug in, and then yeah, we'll do a cold start and get our sound test going on. Okay, so the car's pretty much ready to start up, and so we can do our sound comparison from part 1. But what I've decided to do is I'm actually going to end the episode here and do the sound comparison as part 3. I thought I'd just keep this video on its own, which was pretty much installing the headers, doing the fabrication with the joiner pipes, and then getting the whole exhaust system back together. And like I said, I'm going to do the sound comparison all as one video. So I'll end this episode here. Please like the video if you enjoyed what I had to share with you in terms of those tips to getting the headers in, especially on the driver's side, also on the passenger's side. Share this video with any mates that you think might benefit from it, especially learning from my mistakes. And please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and inspires me to do more videos. So if you're keen to see the sound comparison, stick around for part 3. That'll be coming up next. But for now, I'll see you in the next episode. Ciao.